Welcome to the key recommendations from the Flex4RES project. This video will give you a brief overview of the most important recommendations for achieving a carbon neutral Nordics and Baltics by 2050. For context, we start out by having a look at the climate and energy targets. On the European scale, EU renewable energy targets are set for 2020 and 2030. By 2030, final energy use should consist of at least 32% renewable energy, but the electricity sector should be decarbonized even faster. For the EU electricity sector, a 50% renewable electricity target has been set for 2030, and it should be fully carbon-free by 2050. The Nordic countries have an even stronger agenda for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. All have set ambitious carbon neutrality targets for the next 30 years, as well as a fast transition in the electricity sector. As you can see, all countries have a 100% renewable or carbon-free target for 2030 in the electricity sector. The Baltics are targeting at least 80% reductions in CO2 emissions by 2050, and all have electricity targets from 30% to 45% by 2030. A CO2-free energy sector is possible, but Nordic countries need to act fast to decarbonize them. Basically, all key elements for a carbon-free energy sector would need to have been put in place in the 2020s and 2030s. The policies would need to move even faster to enable optimal framework conditions. So the Nordics and Baltics would need to focus already in the 2020s on sector coupling and market approaches, remove regulatory barriers, and allow business cases for flexible actors. Building the transition on Nordic-Baltic cooperation enables more efficient solutions without ignoring national needs. As Flex4RES deals with sector as well as geographical coupling, acting together and across borders is an essential part of reaching a more optimal energy system. This is underlined by the results of the Flex4RES analysis, showing that combined efforts are much more effective in obtaining the desired policies than if acting alone. Nordics will play an important role in decarbonizing other sectors and the rest of Europe. Flex4RES shows that the large expansion of renewables in the Nordic-Baltic electricity sector actively contribute to the decarbonization of the rest of Europe, provided that sufficient cross-border lines enable the export of excess electricity. Likewise, Europe can benefit from the large flexible capacity from the Nordic hydroelectricity resources. The energy sector also accelerates the green transition in the other energy sectors, such as heat and transport, provided that electricity can compete with the other fuel substitutes. The green and cheap available electricity can then be used to generate heat in district heating or to serve e-mobility. Water plays a major role, and let's see what we mean by this. Combining flexible operation of thermal water storage in district heating systems with water storages in hydropower dams yield large and cheap flexibility options. This eliminates the need for major technology disruptions in the Nordic. Before we go any further, let's take a quick break to look at sector coupling and flexibility as a concept. Sector coupling will be efficient if done smart. What we mean by this is that when striving for a balanced system, sectors should not only be coupled. The coupling of demand and supply must react to the need of flexibility. Thereby, smart electrification of other sectors increases the potential for flexibility. A market-based approach unlocks flexibility through better market coupling. To operate flexibly, actors need signals to do so. Such systems are supplied by electricity markets. A level playing field describes the need for removing regulatory barriers to sector coupling and flexible operation. Such barriers weaken the scarcity or abundance signals from the electricity market. Thereby, removing those barriers enables the price variations sent by the wholesale market to be more visible to the final users, who receive a greater incentive to adjust and be flexible. In Flex4RES, regulatory barriers include current energy taxation and electricity grid tariff designs, which limits the price signals. On the other hand, making flexibility-friendly taxes and tariffs is a powerful leverage to those signals and to flexibility across sectors. Additionally, we might see new ways of utilizing the market, such as power purchase agreements to secure investments and electricity trade closer to real time as the share of wind power increases. The Flex4RES stepwise roadmap describes the process of decarbonization of the energy sectors, then expansion to EU as a foundation for carbon neutrality. For the 2020s, transition in form of lots of new generation and storage capacity and removal of regulatory barriers. For the 2030s, bridging to Europe through increased transmission and sector coupling. And for the 2040s, carbon neutrality also in the sectors beyond electricity. Distributional effects are very important. Exports from the Nordics to the rest of Europe will increase the revenue of Nordic and electricity producers, but may also imply increased consumer prices. Likewise, carbon capture in the energy sector may imply additional costs in the energy sector and benefit other sectors of the economy. These issues should be addressed by policy to ensure acceptance. You can find similar videos with country profiles and recommendations the same place you found this one. For even more details, have a look at flex4res.org.